I spent 7 weeks in Mumbai as a 50-year-old woman, a lot of that time on my own.
That's a Vishnu, photo of Vishnu.
Okay.
And this is the Virat form of Vishnu, you see?
And I made a very conscious effort to just blend in. And I think that ended up shaping my entire experience. I also went on my own to Agra, which is up north where the Taj Mahal is. And I'm just gonna say this up front, it felt very different to me. I was more on edge there. In Mumbai, I was infinitely more at ease. I have a separate video about Agra if you want that whole experience, if you're interested in seeing the Taj Mahal, which I highly recommend if you're in India. But this is Mumbai, and that's a whole different beast. Mumbai is in the south. Before I went, I had a general idea about safety. You know, be careful, people might stare at you, you might get approached, people might want to take your picture. I'd also heard through friends who had been there and lived there, and through some of my own research, that southern India, where Mumbai is, tends to be easier and safer for women than in the north. Daily life is definitely lived outside. People are outside day and night. And pretty quickly, you notice people noticing you. Sometimes they'll ask for a photo, but what I realized, and this is the biggest thing, I think this is super important, is that most of it is honestly just curiosity, not aggression. We're humans, we are curious creatures. Everyone who did approach me, or me and my husband together, were lovely. I genuinely enjoyed every single interaction I had with strangers in Mumbai. They were generous, kind, and funny. We met families, we met young couples, we met reporters. I will say this, I think my experience was also shaped by how I look. I'm petite, dark-haired. I didn't stand out as much as my husband, who is tall, fair. When I was on my own, I pretty much moved around anonymously. Most of the time people approached us, it was when my husband and I were together. I'm from Florida. I live in Southern California. My life is lived in tank tops and shorts. That's been my wardrobe pretty much my entire life, with the exception of some stints in DC and Rhode Island where I traded in, shorts for LL Bean. Even in the heat, and it is hot, people cover up. Loose clothing, more coverage, nothing tight or revealing. So I basically bought a new wardrobe, linen pants, loose tops, and I'm really glad I did. The difference was immediate. I wasn't pulling the same kind of attention as I was when I was wearing sort of, tank tops or more fitted outfits. I could sort of just exist in a space without feeling like I was being clocked constantly or standing out. It made everything easier for me. That said, even if you don't stand out, your stuff will stand out, especially in busy or touristy areas. I noticed that when my husband and I went to Marine Drive. It's a popular tourist and local spot on the Arabian Sea. It was a holiday, totally packed. Everyone's out by the water. There's vendors. It's a very festive day. And my husband and I had everything out. We had our Insta360 camera, my brand new iPhone, selfie stick. We were just in full tourist mode. And I see this guy noticing us. Actually, my husband sees this guy noticing us. And at first it's nothing, then he's near us. And it is very clear he's following us, he's looking at our stuff. But we just put everything away and sort of moved into a crowd and kept going. And that was sort of a shift in my brain, not fear, but awareness. Because here's the reality, even if you don't feel rich at home, there you look rich. The economic gap in Mumbai is real, and the data backs up where the actual risk is. So I just recently looked at a report by the Mumbai police, and crime statistics show that total crime is up, but mostly it's nonviolent. Theft cases are rising while violent crime is relatively stable. Cybercrime, fraud, scams, online theft is exploding. So the story isn't more danger, it's more everyday theft and financial crime, which makes sense given the financial picture there. So in practical terms, it means watch your stuff. Phones, cameras, bags, especially in crowded places like Marine Drive or the Gateway of India, very heavily tourist spots. You shouldn't flash anything expensive. In smaller neighborhoods or smaller areas, I felt completely safe. And getting around also makes a huge difference, especially because Mumbai is so crowded. The streets are so crowded. I used Uber Black most of the time, and it was my go-to mode of transportation. The cars were clean, the drivers were respectful, and it was super efficient. And it's cheap. Like, shockingly cheap, about 21 cents a kilometer. To give you an example, I took a 17-mile ride across the city for around $8. I tipped $5, which is very generous there. The Uber app will only let you tip $1. So if you can, get some rupees so you can tip them in local currency. I tried other Ubers and it was night and day. Messy cars, drivers on the phone, no AC, music blasting. It was not unsafe, it was just a little chaotic. I only took those because the Uber Blacks weren't available, but definitely stick to those. The trains are another option and they're actually very nice, especially the newer lines. The newest fully underground Aqua Line 3 opened in October 2024 and I loved it. There are women-only cars, which I would absolutely recommend if you're traveling by yourself. I went with a local my first time, which helped a lot. She kind of showed me, apps to use and like where to go, and it was just much easier. And then there are the autos. Okay, these are what tourists call tuk-tuks. Locals just call them autos. They're those small three-wheel taxis, open on the sides. They zip through traffic. You usually negotiate the price before you ride. They do have meters. I don't know if anyone uses them, but I just kind of negotiated the price. They are incredibly cheap. I could ride around in those all day. And yes, I made a whole separate video about them. I want a tuk-tuk or an auto. The other thing I would absolutely tell any woman going there, book a tour. Book tours. Tours are fantastic ways to see Mumbai. Mumbai can be overwhelming at first. Not just the pace, it's that you don't have context. You're seeing everything, but you don't know what you're looking at. So going on a tour with a local guide who speaks Hindi or Marathi is like literally putting glasses on. They can explain the language, the neighborhoods, how things work. It's just, things will sharpen a little bit. I did several tours, one through an 800-year-old fishing village with 2 local women. One was an actress, one was an activist, and not only did they explain the history, they gave me really practical like city advice, and we ended up exchanging numbers and planning on meeting for cocktails. So it was really a fantastic experience. After that, I was so much more confident moving through the city. People are genuinely kind. There's a language barrier sometimes, a lot of times, but I found both men and women to be just so helpful and warm. Some women have had uncomfortable situations, especially around photos, and that is real. But for me, once I understood the attention, I just adjusted how I moved and got a feel for the city. Mumbai became a place I could navigate without feeling on edge. Listen, it's not a city that's going to soften itself for you. You have to meet it where it is. I don't know if it's for everyone, maybe it's not, but once you do those tours, start talking to people, it really opens up. I feel so grateful I got to see it. If you're curious about that contrast, I mentioned going solo in Agra versus being solo in Mumbai. Check out my video. I hope all of this helps. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. I am so happy to help. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.